Okay, I hope you guys can see this okay. I'm having trouble tonight. Wanted to do a quick video of the newest bag, the Ultimate Clutch, with the alternative pocket on the left. So this one is going to have the pocket on the side here, on the left hand side, be an open space and not just a void like it is in the other video. When I originally imagined this bag, I just had the panels in mind because I was copying it from my cell phone bag, the flapper, and it has the that panel on the left, because it's more narrow, is empty. So I just did the same thing here. But as I was testing it more and more, it's like, you know, some of these bag sizes, if it had that extra little inch, it might be able to fit a phone in it, where you kind of pull the battery or pull the zipper up and then flap it in. I'm sorry, I hope you guys are seeing this. This really sucks if you can't see it. Anyway, so I decided to do alternative. Now the bag is already digitized to do both, so I decided just to do alternative cutting instructions, and I put a little addendum at the end of the PDF to show you what to do. But I thought I'd do a video to show you as well. So I've already stitched down the first zipper, and I'm not going to go into detail. This is going to be a really quick stitch out because the first video already has all the details, and as well as the Facebook Live I did very extensive details in it. So I'm going to go ahead and get my second zipper placed, and this is actually really hard to see. I'm using this glow in the dark zipper tape from Wizardry Stitchery, and it's hard to see my center stitch line there. So I hope I line it up okay, and I hope this is going to get better because right now my tension isn't looking very good right now. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and walk the zipper center of it down. I can see it better now at this angle. Down that center zipper placement line. Because I'm using a number 5 zipper, which is 1 1/4 inches wide, I can't just place the zipper between the two placement lines. And that's why I always include this center placement line, so you have more opportunity to line up your zipper centered in the bag well. Okay, so this side is done, so I'm just going to put a piece of tape on this side, and I'm going to take the zipper pull down up here until we're all done so it doesn't come loose and hit anything. Then we're going to go ahead and stitch this. Oh, why is that sticking up? I need to put another piece of tape there that's sticking up for some reason. We don't want that. The zipper tape doesn't seem to be as thick as the other zipper tapes from Wizardry. The tension is looking a little bit odd here. I hope it's just because it's not going through very many layers. I think I might actually pull the thread off and move it to a different position and re-stitch it, just to be safe. Alright, I'm going to remove this tape at the bottom, and then I'm going to run the stitch. I'm going to use a zipper tab, and I forgot to interface it, so what I'm going to do is I decided to use cotton here instead of the vinyl. So what I'm going to do is just fold it over so it's a little bit thicker. You can skip the zipper tab at the bottom, but the reason why I included it is because if you're actually using the bag and the bottom of it is, oh, I got my zipper really close there. Hopefully it's gonna be covered. The bottom is down there. It's like you need somebody to grab on to pull the zipper up. Does that make sense? I don't know if it makes sense to you. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and do a double layer of this material. Just to make sure that it's nice and thick, because otherwise if the cotton is really thin, then it's going to be, yucky. So I'm going to put this folded line right here at my placement. And it's really wide because I mentioned I forgot to prep this. So, oh, I'm going to be really close on my zipper there because I'm kind of messed up there. I should have placed it a little bit farther down. Instructions tell you to place it farther down and then trim it. All right. Did I cover it all? Ooh, by the skin of my teeth. Okay, and disregard my black fingers. I had a pen in the car and it exploded all over my little console from the heat because it's so hot here. I mean, it is summertime now, but it's been hot like this all since like May. It's just been unbearable. But I'm not complaining because our friends on the West Coast, it's just heartbreaking. Just heartbreaking. And today's the 10th, so tomorrow, of course, is going to be a very somber day for us all, 19 years. But I was telling my friends, I am so sick, and I shouldn't say this because I might offend a few of you, but all I keep seeing are all these people sharing all these little memes where some poor mother writes this long diatribe about how difficult all this online schooling is and this and that, and I'm just like, are you serious? First of all, the West Coast is burning up. Those people, you know, they're dealing with school and fires, and if you've seen the pictures, they're just horrifying. Secondly, these poor teachers. I mean, I can't even imagine. Oh, this tension is really off. I don't know what's going on here. I mean, I just can't imagine what the teachers are going through. And, all right, what's going on here? I'm going to reseat my bobbin because I'm seeing bobbin thread up there. Oh, I should really clean it out. Where's my little brush at? That's probably part of the issue. I don't know where the little brush thing is at. Oh, I try to get organized and I just make a worse, but I can see a lot of dust in there. So, don't blow in there like I'm doing. Oh, where's the dust? I usually have it sitting right here. And of course I can't find it when I need it. It should have been sitting right here. Maybe Kimberly should not have tried to do a video tonight because it's just been a really rough day. And I actually thought doing a video might calm me down and relax me. Okay. Well, we're just going to deal with it. If the tension looks off, it just looks off. I somehow, when I was cleaning the machine, or not cleaning it, when I was trying to run a bobbin or something one time, this has been months ago, it got all hung up in here, and apparently I took the little bobbin thing off here, the stopper, and didn't realize that I must not have put it back immediately, and now I can't run a bobbin. I need to order a new one. Okay, so let's make sure we get all this in here right. And this thread is a little bit thin, so I might have to run it through that extra little tensioner. I mean, it feels like nothing's catching. It should be thin, but not that thin. Okay, let's try this again and hope that it's better. Okay, so we got that done. So we got our top stitching, we got this. So here's where our pattern's gonna be the same. We're still the same. So instead of 2 lining pieces here that are going to go this full distance and nothing over here, we have 3 lining pieces. So we have one that is just like the original that covers just this side. Then we have one that covers the left side, and then one that covers the entire side. So we're going to start with the right side just like the normal pattern. So we're going to flip this over. So we want this lining to be over here. So we're going to start with it over here, but we need that to be on the other side, on this side of the zipper. So if you just position it and then flip it over right there, then you will know that you have it right. I'm gonna line it up with my zipper. It should be your zipper placement line, but I actually cut these a little bit large. Where's my pen at? So it's helpful to take your pen and draw the line. I can see it on here, but in case you can't, there's the little, I'll show you when I flip it back over. Oh, there's my pen. So there's the little markers right here to help you line up your lining. So your lining should be no higher than those. So again, if you refer to your pattern, this is lining piece A. Okay, and we're going to carefully flip it back over, make sure that doesn't come loose. And then we're going to take our main panel, which is going to be most likely your decorative panel, right? So it's the whole point of this bag, the cutie pie bag. It's just to focus on, you know, give you a focus fabric. So I'm using this cute little Mickey. And so I have my line right here. You can see it. So this was really thin. It's from Joann's. It's not very good quality, but it was really thin. So I put a piece of Decoville Light. I'm sorry, Woven Fused Teal on it. That's the woven interfacing. And then I put a piece of Decoville Light, and I measured my 1/4 inch from here and here, so I get a nice fold edge. So I'm gonna line this up on this side. And again, I wanna line this up with I'm gonna approximate it to where that zipper placement line would be, because I want my woven fuse to be exactly, my Decoville to be exactly at that 1/4 inch. So you see how I've left just a tiny shred of black showing. So if you're using a 1-inch zipper, you would just line this up with your zipper and you'd be fine. Okay, so I'm gonna tape that down. Then we're gonna run our tack down stitch. And if I lined this up correctly, that tack down stitch should fall just to the inside of my Decoville Light. And I actually take a ruler and draw a line there so that I can measure and make sure that it's correct. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and remove the tape. And again, up to this point, we're still following the regular instructions. And then we're gonna flip to the back, and we're gonna turn the lining on the back. Glue for me right there. That and that bottle right there. It's spilled out on the floor.
Hello, guys.
Grayson just got done taking a shower. So he said hi. Hopefully we can get this, I'm hoping I'm in a good angle, Grayson. I had a hard time here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's because I don't have that little tray up here I normally use. Okay, so we're gonna fold this lining panel back and finger press it. My nose suddenly got itchy. Somebody must be talking about me. Did you guys hear that, old wives' tale? Your nose is itchy, somebody's talking about you. Okay. All right, so then we're gonna flip that over again. Make sure it didn't come loose. Okay, and then we're gonna go ahead and flip our panel here, and I did get it a little bit off, so it's not folding exactly neatly like I wanted it to. Bummer, but that's okay. We'll fold it back on the Decoville Light, and we're gonna tape this down. If I would have positioned it exactly right, it would fold perfectly and we wouldn't have to worry about it. Okay, and now we're gonna run the top stitch. So again, up to this point, we're still following the standard pattern. Oh, something happened, my USB came loose. Okay, I'm gonna top stitch. It's like wanting to pucker right there for some reason. I got a little ball, a little bump there. Okay, so now we're going to deviate from our normal pattern. Kimberly, why did you put tape right there? That was silly. Should put it out of the stitch area. Okay, so we're going to deviate from our normal pattern now, and we're going to grab our 2 additional linings. So in this case, we only need the first one. we're going to take the smaller one, which is your pattern A, B, and this time we want to put it aligned with this zipper, and again with our placement line. So let's see, I didn't cut these exactly from the same piece. So again, we're lining up with this zipper placement line and with our top here, and then we're going to tape it in place. So now this is going to create the open area on the back of your pocket. All right, so carefully turn that over. Now, if it's trying to get into your hoop area, make sure that you fold it out of your way. And now we're going to take our side panel, this one here, and we're going to lay it right side down so it's lined up with the placement here and the left side of the zipper, or the zipper placement line, whichever one you're having. I cut it quite generous. The cutting directions are quite generous, so you can just line it up with your zipper is fine. Okay. Then I'm going to run the tack down. So this is at the end of your pattern in the addendum. Alrighty, now we're going to turn it over and we're going to flip this one down so that we have a pocket side for our left panel. And you see there's like about an inch there that you're going to end up having. And so if your phone will fit in almost all the way and it would just be snug up against the zipper pull, then that's why having this extra little pocket. So if you have a small phone, then this side will fit. Actually, I think this is the 9x7. I think the large phone fits in this one. But it might be a little snug because I repositioned it from my first test. But anyway, so if you need the extra little inch there, so you can kind of flip the zipper up at the end to fit something in there, that's what this is for. But if you don't need that, if you're going to make the bag and this right side is perfectly fine, then you don't need to go through this trouble of adding this extra lining here. So I'm going to go ahead and put my vinyl, finger crease that, and tape it down. And I'm going to go do the top stitch. Did I do this again? Oh, the same thing happened the last time. It didn't skip forward on my machine. It's because the thread's stuck in there. It's stuck here, and so it didn't push it forward. Oh, it's going to do the little travel stitch. I forgot about that. Now, before it gets to this part, this is where you need to decide, because once we do this travel stitch, it's just a basting stitch, but it's going to be stuck in here. Your lining's going to be stuck. If you wanted to put embroidery on this side, you don't want that to go through the lining. So you would want to stop here and fold that lining panel back over to the other side and then do your embroidery on this side. But we're not going to do that, so I'm going to go ahead and run my little travel stitches, and it's going to bring us up here. And so we're in position to do our top border. And I'm going to keep an eye out because my machine likes to do all that crazy stuff. And this is creating a little tick mark, and I forgot to tell you that at the beginning because I'd already started, but it's in the PDF. Again, I'm not giving you a very detailed pattern here, but you want to go ahead and extend those lines to help measure. And I'm actually going to use the placement line as well. So there's little tick marks here, and you'll see it in the instructions to extend. But I went ahead and gave you a little tick here as well. All right. So, where are we at? So now, before we move on, we're going to move our zipper. We want to remove the stabilizer behind our zipper on the back. So I use my seam ripper to do that. And so I just like to get in here where I can actually see. On the poly mesh fusible, you can see the blade underneath, and then just go ahead and slice across. But use whatever method you're comfortable with to remove your stabilizer behind the zipper. And then on this side, and I'm sorry, you might not be getting it all in. I realized that because I had trouble angling the camera today, but the other video was much better. And then there's also the Facebook Live. So this is the third video on this bag. Okay. So get all the stabilizer out. You want to try and get it out as much as you can, because if you don't, then your zipper pull is going to be impeded on it. And you won't be able to open your zipper pull. So I like to use my scissors for the very top, the short pieces, because too many times when I've used my seam ripper, I've ended up cutting that area. And so I want to do that. Okay, so now that's out of the way. So now, this is the last part of the deviation from the original pattern, is we're going to cut, and see that was a basting stitch. I actually just pulled it out by accident. We're going to cover up our back pocket. So you're going to have to peek underneath here to see where this original die line is, because I cut these so generously. I don't want it to cover. Yeah, that's good. Actually, I got it good. And then go ahead and line up the top with the top edge, because we already know that that's lined up properly. And then go ahead and put some tape down to hold it in place. So now you have a back to your pocket, and both the right hand side and the left hand side of your pocket is open. Okay. So we're just going to tape this in place, and then when we put the lining on, we'll end up covering this up. So we're going to do that now. So I actually used, oh, did I drop my lining? So we have our lining back here, and we're going to flip this over. Oh, I'm sorry, we're going to leave this for this like this. Now we want to put our lining for our main bag. So I'm using Ole Fun, and so we're going to line up the edge of the long edge with the zipper. Use this piece of tape here. So we're going to line up that long edge with the zipper placement line. And then tape it down. And I'm going to put another piece of tape in the middle, because when you have a very long expanse like this, it is more likely to come loose on you. All right, and then carefully turn this over, and then make sure that you go ahead and move your zipper pull now, and open that up. And now you'll see we have open pocket over here and open pocket over here. So open pocket over here and open pocket over here. And I'm going to take this zipper pull. This is a really chunky zipper pull, so I'm going to have to be really careful when this is going all the way across the hoop to make sure it doesn't get stuck on there. All right, remove your extra zipper tape. You don't need that there. And then we're going to put our border piece, and we're going to line that up with the bottom of our zipper, which would be our zipper placement line, really. So I'm going to make it just shy of the bottom of the zipper. Tape it down. And the same thing, I'm going to put a piece in the center. And ignore my bad cutting. I'm still haven't made it up to using the rotary cutter, so I'm just doing everything with scissors. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and tack that down. And likewise, if you had wanted to put some embroidery on this side, before we get to this point, you'd want to go ahead and pull the lining over to the other side and do the embroidery here. And that's in the main file, it tells you that. Oh, I'm sorry, let me get this tape out of here. We're gonna put that other little placement tick line there to help us place the hem on our border. Just a tiny little tick. So that, I put that in there, but we're actually gonna use the longer placement line that I added. Okay, so make sure that this doesn't come loose. Now we're gonna pull this out again one more time, so you don't need to remove all the tape from the purple yet. And we're gonna fold this down, and then we're gonna finger crease it and tape it down, because we don't want our stitching to go through the border. I mean the lining on the border. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and cut that little tail, and we're gonna fold our border down. And we're gonna finger crease that. Just like that. And I'm gonna put a little piece in the center because this vinyl is wanting to kind of pull up on me. I wanna hold it down nice and firm. And we're gonna go ahead and top stitch it. I'm just kind of guiding it with this bamboo skewer, because a chopstick, whatever this is, because this vinyl is wanting to pull up. All right, so now we're gonna flip over to the back, and we're gonna flip our lining up one more time, just so that we don't stitch through it when we stitch our border down. Just take that out of the way. You can kind of tape it, or just kind of hold it with your hand and then fold it over. And now I'm gonna remove this tape. And now I'm gonna pull this border up for just a minute. Fold it up out of the way. Grayson? Oh, gosh. And we're gonna run a little placement line. Oops, I'm gonna put a little piece of tape right here, because sometimes if you hit that zipper, it'll bonk everything out of whack. Bonk everything out of whack? That's some nice words there, Kimberly. Okay, I think I'm pushing my machine. Okay, so now we're gonna run, oops, a little placement line to help us line up our fold. So this is the same line that your stitch is gonna be on. So this is optional, but I wanted to show how to do it just in case you have trouble. So I'm going to show you the recommended way too. All right, I'm going to pull this tape out. Now we're done with that. Okay, so now here's my recommended way to do it. Is you take and lay your lining down, and you can tape it if you need to, and then take your seam ripper or your stiletto that that's what just fell on the floor under my foot. Okay, and then line up. See, I gave you the tick here, so go ahead and extend your tick lines out so you can see them over here. This is in the seam allowance, so it's no problem. And then over here. Okay, so then if you line up your ruler on both ends, and then take your seam ripper or whatever you have, the stiletto, and then just kind of score the vinyl. And hold your ruler straight against there. If you have a marker, a pen, I'm sorry, not a pen. If you're using cotton, you can use a regular cotton tool. Okay, so now we have this line here. We want to cover this line, but this is where our top stitching is going to be. So we need to make sure we have enough room there for the top stitching. So we want to come down about 1/8 of an inch and cover that line up with our fold. So I started in the center. It seems to be the best for me. And so now I'm looking, and because I have my placement and I scored it, it's making my fold easier. But if I didn't, I would just go ahead and fold this until I get it. So if I don't want to fold it like that, see, because you can still see your lines. So you need it to be just a little bit past that line, and then tape it down. And this is a place where you're going to need a lot of tape if you're using vinyl. If you're using cotton, you probably don't need to tape it as much. Right, so then same thing here. Now I have my score, but I'm just going to kind of pretend I'm ignoring my scoring line, and I'm trying to line it up with that line there. And then what we'll do, so this is actually the hardest part about this bag, in my humble opinion, is lining up this border. And then what I'll do is I will make sure that, use my ruler to make sure it looks about right. See, now I got it lined up there. So you can kind of see that underneath, and make sure you're lining it up right about the same distance away from that on each one. And again, we're going to go ahead and put the tape over our zipper, so when we hit that spot, it doesn't go wonky. All right. And I think it's lined up well. It looks like right here I might have a bulge. So, yeah, and so you can take your ruler then and kind of put it here and make sure it looks like it's pretty even all the way down. And it should be right on that 1 3/4 line. Yeah, right here it's a little bit off, and right there, it's right here. So I'm gonna push this in a little bit more. So just take the time to be fussy with it. The fussier you are, the nicer it's gonna look when you're all done. But you have your own level of fussiness, and if you use a thread that kind of covers it, you won't notice it as much if it gets a little bit wonky. Now, I could have digitized this differently so this wouldn't be a problem, but it would have required another hooping. And I thought that you all could handle the extra minute of lining this up versus doing a whole nother hooping. Okay, there, mine's good. I'm happy with that. So, let me flip it back around in the right direction. And now we're gonna run the top stitching. And now after this, since we added that extra layer of pocket, we wanna make sure that we remove all the extra tape that's holding that second panel, or actually it ends up being the third panel of our pocket on the back. So we're going to leave the tape on the sides and on the bottom, but we're going to remove it from the top. Okay, I'm happy with that. So, and if you've watched the other video, you're going to notice that because I added that extra line in there for you, now the D-ring strap connectors are starting on the left side. In the other video, they would have started on the right side. I'm really happy with this. Oh, I just tugged that little, I got a little thing there. That's okay, I'll use a lighter and burn it down. So just be careful when you're pulling this tape off that you don't pull your stitches out. Usually I'm really good with it. Oh, and I'm sorry, this is transport tape that I'm using. Now, I know a lot of you guys have seen this style bag from the Sewist that are showcasing it in like My Punk Embroidery. And that is the Zippy bag from Amy Lynn Designs. So if you haven't watched my other video yet, I'll tell you quickly the story of that. So I had come up with my flapper cell phone bag, and it has a similar panel, but on the back of the pocket. And so as soon as I was done making it, I was like, you know what? I want to work that into the front, that idea of having the side panel. And I want to work that into the front. So I had gotten as far as just writing down the beginnings of my thought process on it, and hadn't gotten much farther than that. I started the one file, and then I saw Amy Lynn Design came out with hers, and I was like, oh no. Oh, and actually this ended up tacking her top down, so I forgot that was gonna happen. So I felt like, well, hers is not in the hoop, but at the same time, I didn't want people to think that I was copying her. So I actually sent her a message. I said, you know, I have this in the hoop idea I've been working on, and it's very similar to yours. Just want you to know I'm not copying you or anything. So I just felt that I should just let her have her glory in the sewing world for a little while before I try and come up with mine. And so I waited. And then I kind of went on the back burner, and somebody else came up with a similar one, but my fans were asking me to make it, so here we are. Okay, so now we have this done. So now we're gonna go ahead and run our D-ring placement straps and get our D-rings down. And I didn't even tell you guys, we have a bonus on this. I'm gonna show you how to add on the a back pocket, a back slip pocket. So I'm gonna use the D-rings on the top like I usually do. And I actually made cloth ones this time. So what I did is I took a 1.5 inch piece of cloth. I took a 3/4 inch piece of woven fuse, in this case woven fuse 2, through the whole length. And then I did just shy of that, like a 5/8 inch wide piece of Decoville, it's about 2 inches just in the middle, just to give it a little bit more structure, because my machine will not go through 4 layers of cotton, and a lot of machines, single needle machines, won't. Now a lot of the multi-needles would have no problem going through that, but traditionally with a cloth you would do a 3-inch strip, fold it in half, then fold each long edge to the center and fold it again, so it would be 4 layers thick. So in this case, I folded the long edges to the center and then added my stabilizer. So I need D-rings. Hey Grayson, can you come and check your dog? She's trying to get into stuff. I don't know what. Yeah, I told on you. All right, so I'm gonna use this placement line and this placement line. Right there and there. And I'm gonna line it up here, and then I like to have my hardware, the top of my D-ring, right here at the top of this. And then I need the tape to tape it down. And we're on the home stretch. Okay, so, and I don't worry too much about having these raw edges, because not that much of it, once it's folded close like this, it's gonna be sewn and you're not really gonna see that. So I'm gonna go ahead and lay this here. And then put my tape over it. And then I got the second one. And if you were worried about that raw edge, you could always use some double stick tape or some glue and glue that down. I'm not too worried about it. And I'm gonna go ahead and skip my stitches across ahead and skip that first set of stitches, because we don't really need them. And just kind of eyeball this and make sure it's even, like this one's not even. So I need to pull it up a little bit more. There we go, I'm happy with that. Now on my machine, it likes to do all that crazy back and forth. So as soon as I hear the thread cutters engage, or I should say disengage, I'm gonna go ahead and reach behind and pull up this all the way so that it doesn't try and move around and hit my D-rings when it's all done. In this case, it would have been okay, but you just never know. See right there, it would have hit the D-ring. Okay, I'm gonna skip that last one since we're not using it and move forward to the next step. So now we're ready to put on our lining and our backing. Let me trim out all these little extras. Take off this extra tape. So the lining in this case is our credit card slot because I chose to use the credit card slots. And you could not use the credit card slots and then just cut a second piece of lining the same size. So I'm gonna go ahead and add that on the back first, and then I'm gonna show you what we're gonna do to the front. Look how cute it is so far, you guys. The orange is not exactly the same, but it's all I had in my stash, so we had to do it. So what I did not do at the beginning of the project is we have that little tick mark that got stitched right here, and it's hard to see on the camera, but I can see it. And so I want to draw the line there so I know where my centering is. So, Grayson? All right, I didn't get the rest of my stabilizer pulled out of this. Okay. I just thought I'd try something different, so I did this olifant. Just for something different. I have a whole bunch of this, and I don't remember why I bought it, to be honest, if it was for crafts or what, but since I'm not doing craft fairs anymore, then I kind of just need to start getting rid of some of this stuff. Unrelated to COVID, I'm not doing craft fairs anymore. Just, they're not really worth the, I don't have like a big area to do them here. I was just doing the school ones, and it's just too much work and not worth the hassle. It was fun the first couple of years my son was little, but now he's not really into it either. Okay, that might be all I get out of it. Okay, so now we want to take and line up our tick mark here with our tick mark there. And then this basting line is going to go along our original placement line. And or if you're using a 1-inch zipper, it'll just be the top of your zipper. So just go ahead and line this up, and then line the basting line up with there, and then tape it in place. I am dropping everything over here today. And ignore my little lining. I actually, I had it folded in half, so I measured and cut it evenly, but somehow it wasn't, so I had to paste in a little scrap there at the bottom. It'll be hidden in the bottom of the bag, so I'm not too worried about it, but it's gonna add a little bit of bulk that I'm not happy about. So again, so I lined up my little middle there, and now I'm just gonna line up the basting line with the top edge of the zipper placement line. Oh, I'm just really messed tonight. Oh, goodness. Okay. See if I can get this uploaded tonight easier. I got a brand new MacBook, but I'm having so many issues with it. I've already had to reinstall the operating system twice. Okay, so I'm not going to tape this down too much over here because we're going to flip it up. So I'm carefully going to flip it over, make sure it's flat. All right, so now we're going to put this pocket on our bag later. But what I've done is I've cut a little notch here to center it, and I've put a piece of Decoville light at the 2-inch mark in the middle, and I'm going to actually put a piece of vinyl too. And the reason I did this is because I'm going to put a snap there, a magnetic snap, so that we can have a pocket, but have the pocket closed. So I wanted to show you just how to do that. So I'm going to poke a hole in this one first, and then I'm going to put the extra piece of vinyl because I don't want the snap to come through. So I'm lining it up with my little mark, and I'm going to poke this through, and then I'm going to put the scrap of vinyl there, and from the front I'm going to poke it through. I should probably put a piece of tape to hold it in place so it doesn't move on me. Oh. I'm not sure, I want a little bit more security than just that Decoville. And then I'm gonna go ahead and poke it through again. So now we need to find our dies for our magnetic thing, and I hope I can find them. Oh, that's it. That must be it. I somehow have misplaced them. I always put them back in the same container, but they're not. So I'm like, uh-oh, that's not good. And they're not. Oh, so that's a rivet. All right, sorry about this, guys. Okay, you know what we're gonna try and do is we're just gonna try and use the 18mm one, see if that'll work. Because I got that in the mail. And hopefully they'll work. Otherwise we'll have to use the 18mm. So I'm gonna have the pocket be the mail and this be the receiving end. So I need this die in the bottom and then this die in the top. We might have to use the bigger. If I can get this in. I haven't actually used the 18mm ones yet. All right, let's see if they're the same size to do the, is this an 18mm right here? Okay, so we need a male, a female, and then 2 caps. And this is from Cam Snaps. So there's the male. And then we need a female. Let's see if this is going to fit in here. It might not fit in there because, oh, it will. Yep, perfect. Ah, maybe. Oh my goodness. It's so, the magnets are sticking. Ah. Actually, I don't think that's, let's see. Let me take it out. It looks like this is actually a little bit wider. No, it's the same. Okay. All right, put that back in. Okay, so then we need 2 caps. Sorry, this is taking way too long. Shouldn't have taken this long, but I wanted to show it to you guys and not just do it. So we need 2 caps. Okay, move these out of the way. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and put my female piece inside here because this is gonna be our back. So we want it to be on the outside, and then we're gonna go ahead and put one of the caps on it. And we can go ahead and move that tape off. And then we're gonna position it, center it inside our die. If you're using the right size die, it'll automatically just center in there. But I'm gonna have to fuss with it. And then we're gonna press it down just like a rivet. Okay, hopefully that's centered in there. I can't see. There it is. Okay, I'm gonna press it down just like a rivet. All right. There we go. So that's our back. So then we're gonna end up, we leave this top in the same, and then we'll switch out to this other die when I show you how to do the pocket. So let's move this out of the way. I'll put it right there so I don't lose it. Okay. All right, so now we have our little snap on there. And we're gonna go ahead and lay our backing on here. And we're gonna center it with that center placement line, because I put that little notch in there so I'll be able to see it. And then I'm gonna pull mine a little bit over the top because I put that little notch in there. So I wanna make sure it gets caught. So then we're going to tape it down on both sides. You'll notice we have not opened up our zipper yet. I don't do my bags the same as other people. I know other people would be doing this different than I do. I don't know if anybody else does it like I do it, but I don't. I like to do it this way because that way the zipper pull is out of the way and I don't have to worry about it potentially hitting anything. Okay, so there we go. So we took that little diversion to add that little snap. All right, and then we're gonna go ahead and run our top. Make sure my little D-rings didn't come loose, because sometimes when you're moving your hoop around like that, they come loose. So we're gonna run ahead and do our placement line, or our tack down, I should say. And it's coming back around here just because that's the way I had to do it to get it positioned where I need it. Okay, now at this time you could pull this up and do a top stitch on it if you wanted to, but I'm choosing not to do that. As I mentioned in other videos, when you do that, when you have the tabs on the top, it makes the tabs look a little bit puckered, and I don't like that. They kind of jump forward, and I don't like that. So I don't do it that way. But if you don't mind that look, then go ahead and do your little top stitching on the exterior as well. So now we're gonna go ahead and pull our credit card slot and finger press this area and tape it down. Okay, so now in the back, we have our pocket lining, our main lining, our credit card slots. And then on the front, we're just gonna stitch right back over this. The reason we wanna top stitch through the credit card slots with them open like that is it helps that panel hang in the bag better so that it doesn't, the zipper pull doesn't get stuck on it. All these threads stuck in here. All right, now before we move forward, we're not going to put our snap in our bag, in our pocket yet, because if we do it now, even though this is here, we can't be 100% sure it's going to be lined up properly, because there's going to be some pull when you flip this inside out. But we do want this to get tacked down with our exterior, which is what we're getting ready to do. So I'm going to pull this up out of the way a minute, and we're going to do two things. We're going to open up our zipper now, and I like to just pull my zipper pull over to the second zipper, the D-ring connector. And if it's a really large one, you might want to tape it down out of the way if it's a jingly one. And I hope this glow-in-the-dark works. I'm going to go in the bathroom after this because it's under so much light right now. It should hopefully work. So I'm kind of excited to try it. So let me get this extra tape off here. All right. And I got ink all over my hands. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I tried scrubbing my fingernails and it didn't come out. But I think I need to just soak them in some rubbing alcohol. I just tried soap. Okay, so now what I wanna do is I want to have my pocket be about 2 inches underneath the top of the zipper. Just, you can position it wherever you want. That's what I measured. So when I come down here, the snap is going to be around there. So, let's see. I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm actually going to just put it, that'll be too high. I'm going to put it about a 1/2 inch under the zipper. So I have taken and used one long piece of cotton. So what I did is I took 2 inches off the top, the height, and then I doubled it so I could fold over the cotton, and then I made it the same width. I interfaced the main part of the bag with woven fuse, and then I put a little piece of Decoville where the magnetic snap is going to be, and the magnetic snap is going to go through this whole layer. And then, so what I want is, I want the right side to be down. In my case, the right side is the side that has the interfacing on it. So I'm gonna center this over about 1/2 inch under, I think is where I want it. So if you just go ahead and measure this and close it, you'll see where that snap is gonna fall, but it's gonna be a little bit, it's gonna come down a little bit. So I'm gonna do it about right here. I'm gonna use my ruler and make sure it's even on both sides. And again, you want the right side facing down, and then just tape it in a couple of places so it doesn't come loose, and it's gonna get stitched in with your exterior. So, and I'm gonna add the snap on it at the very end. And where did I place my ruler? Oh, right here it is, okay. So let's see, I think I have it positioned actually really good right now without even having to do anything else. Okay, so 1/2 inch. Actually, it's like down there at 3/8. Actually, I have it already positioned just about perfect. Is it centered? It's not quite centered though. I just pulled it loose down here. So just take the time to play with it, make sure it's centered height and width. All right. I think I may have cut this a little bit more narrow than it should have been. Huh. It is gonna be close. I don't know how I did that wrong. All right, let's hope it gets caught in our seams. I'm gonna tape it down in a few places. Now, if you wanted to use vinyl for your pocket, what you could do is just take and fold under a 1/2 inch hem. 1/2 inch is probably not enough. I would fold over 1 inch hem at the top and glue it shut, and then let that dry, or use double stick tape. And then you want to oh, I've lost my train of thought. Yes, just glue it dry, glue it closed, and then again you want to put it right side down. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna stitch down to here, and then we're gonna come back up and start this over here, because there's actually a lot of stretch in this vinyl. And when I tried to stitch it all the way around in one swell swoop, it puckered up here, and I don't want that. So I want to make sure and control any kind of extra give in the fabric, in the vinyl at the bottom of the hoop, because the bag at the bottom, you have a little bit more control there of easing it and have that extra fabric there so it's not wanting to stick. So, and I'm going to use my little chopstick to guide it along. So we're going to do a double round. It's going to stitch to the bottom, and then it's going to come back around here and stitch over on this side going down. And I'm going to keep an eye on it, and if I start to see that it looks like it's kind of getting all buckled up, because see these extra pulls in here also add some bulk to it that makes it pucker up a little bit. So I'm going to keep an eye on it, and if it looks like it's messing up, I'm going to just get my little bamboo screw or whatever you have and help coax it to keep it from puckering. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and start down here, and again, go ahead and use whatever device you have to help ease that. And we're almost done with this one. Now I'm going to go ahead and lift my thing up so it doesn't kind of get stuck in my D-rings as it tries to go over to the other side. I think it would have been okay this time, but I just never know with this machine. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to try and kind of coax our material and make sure we don't get puckers. And if we get puckers, we'd rather have them at the bottom. It's a little wavy, but did pucker. I hope I caught my pocket. I'm a little worried about catching my pocket in this. I may not have cut it wide enough. And before I go any farther, I'm actually going to peek up and pull the vinyl up and make sure I can see my pieces of my pocket. On this side I can, awesome. And on this side I can as well. Very, very tight fit there, but I made it. Made it. It's only about 1/8 of an inch at the top, but that's okay. All right, so we're ready to do the back now. So we want to go ahead and just pull this down, but before we do that, we need to remove our stabilizer behind our zipper. And of course, I dropped my good seam ripper on the floor, and I'm not getting up to get it fixed because you guys don't want to see myself. Okay, so yeah, I got it right. So again, you want to get it right underneath your stabilizer so you can see the blade, and then just glide it along the edge. Definitely be careful if you're using this Ole Fun, because it's not going to be forgiving if I cut it. And then on the other side, I'm going to hold on to the stabilizer over here and guide it. All right, and then I'm going to use my little scissors and snip the ends. I didn't do a very good job on this side. I hope it'll be okay. All right, now we're going to go ahead and remove all this tape from the top part, and we're going to tape this down. Now see how you get a little bit of give in here now. So you want to pull your credit card slot down tautly and tape it down. And I try to pull by the corners, not so much the center. And then just tape this down all over. The more tape you add, the better, because this has a tendency to come loose at the end. Okay, so now we're ready to do our last step. And it's gonna go ahead and start down here, then come down here, leave an opening, and then finish around. It's going to carry over on the right-hand side, because again, we want to start at the top. And I made this stitch just slightly outside the last, because with vinyl, it helps to run another stitch behind your main seam in the seam allowance. It just helps with that, showing the stitches through the vinyl. Gives it a little bit more security. I want to make sure it doesn't go up there and try and hit my zipper pole, so I'm going to do this. I guess it didn't on this one, but on my 8x8 inch bag it did, and it got all wonky. And this is our last step. Now remember, you're going to skip step 21. All right, so we are done, but before we unhoop this, we want to turn it to the back and make sure everything looks good there, and it does. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the hoop, move my hoop out of my way, and I'm going to remove all this tape before, because it's easier to get it off now. I think I may have been a little too generous on my cutting instructions for that pocket. All right, just all the tape out of here. No, we got more here. I'm sorry, I may be out of view. I know I got out of view a few times. Okay, and then on the front, let's see if we got any tape. Let's remove all the tape we can find. I do like to, on these kind of vinyls, I do like to keep the tape in the seam allowance, because I've had times where the paint comes off the vinyl from the tape, and it just depends on what tape you're using. I'm using this Transport, and I've had it happen on this vinyl and on the tooled, any of them that look like they have that painted surface. Okay, now go ahead and remove our hoop. Okay, I'm going to quickly trim this out so that I can get to showing you the magnetic snap. So I'm going to just do, since my lining is Oli Fun, it's non-fraying, I can cut the whole thing pretty close to the seam allowance. And just do a like 1/8 inch seam allowance. Now I don't want to cut off my tabs on my D-ring strap connectors. Remember, we want to keep those longer. It takes the pressure off when you're doing the bag, or when you're carrying the bag. It has that extra, it's like a cantilever effect when you have that extra bit on top. All right, now down here at the bottom, I'm gonna go ahead and rough cut it, and then I'm gonna leave a little tab that just makes help closing it a little bit easier. And then I'm gonna trim it better. So I just do a little tab, like right here, and right here, and it's really thick under here because we have that pocket. And then we only need our lining to be extra, so we can go ahead and trim the rest off. So let's trim that tab. So if you pull your little tab here down, then you can trim the rest of this. And we have a lot of bulk right here because we have the lining, we have an extra panel of lining, and we have the pocket. All right, so now when we get to the sides here, what we want to do is taper them, and then it'll give us a nicer finish inside. And you could actually gradate the seam allowance underneath if you need to from all these layers. And I'm going to trim this vinyl up here a little bit. All right, I think that's okay. All right, now we're going to try and turn this. Sorry for all this mess. Oh my gosh, my bag, I lost my bag. Then we'll go ahead and glue it closed. I find usually if you go to the opposite corner and pull it down, you get a little bit easier to turn. And if you pull the stitches out, don't worry about it. I do have a back tack on them, but you could still pull it out. We're going to be gluing it closed, or you're going to be hand sewing it closed. I have some people, I know a few people who'd use the serger and just serge it closed at the end. Whatever. Oh, see, I just tore it open. Ah. Not crying about it. Don't cry about spilled milk. This is my first time in a long time doing Oli Fun, so obviously it's a little bit more temperamental. Okay, I'm gonna start crying over spilled milk in a minute here. I'm pulling too much out now. It's so much harder to try and do this and keep it in the camera angle. Okay, I'm just gonna hold on over here because this side I tore and I don't want it to get all the way to the corner. And one of these corners at the bottom is really thick because remember I had to patch my lining because I messed it up. So I would say if you guys want to replicate this Oli Fun thing, cut it at least an extra inch wider than you think because it's kind of slippery. So obviously when I cut it, I thought it was even and it slipped and it wasn't. So that's why it was short on one side. So I couldn't keep it up. I couldn't keep it even all the way up, folding it up and down. And I didn't record doing this because it's no different than the other one. So you can go watch the card slots on the other video. Down here's that corner that I monkeyed up. And this is a time, well, I'll get the stilettos out, but the stiletto, the rounded over stiletto really helps to get those corners. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and push this out on the inside before I flip it over, or before I glue it closed. Now, normally I don't like to glue mine closed. You guys know if you've been following me for a while, until I'm completely done and I turn the bag inside out again. But in the interest of time, and because this is a cute bag, I'm gonna go ahead and glue it closed now. So I use this Beacon Fabri-Tac, and it's got a fast set, and then it cures in 24 hours. So after about 20 to 30 seconds, maybe a minute max, you can turn the bag, it'll hold it. So all I do is I get some clips. I don't know what that is, my son. Get yourself some Wonder clips. These are the generic ones from Amazon. And then what I like to do is, this is my heavy side over here with the stitch line on it. So I like to run my glue there, and then this side kind of already folds over for you. So, and I got to do a little bit more because I tore it over here. So I'm going to go ahead and just put my glue here, and I'm going to do a small section at a time. And this, you can get your hands on it, but it is a little bit sticky to get off if you get it on your hands. So just beware of that. If you need to use your fingers in there, that's fine. I actually somehow tore the lining itself, the Oli tore there. Oh, that sucks. Hopefully you won't be able to tell inside. Okay. So I'm not sure I would recommend using Oli Fun for your lining. All right, so rubbing it along that seam, and then fold the part up and tuck it into that seam, and then clip it. And this is, again, it's really thick because I have that extra 2 layers from that pocket, that slip pocket that we added. Okay. And then we're gonna just let it set for a minute. And hopefully it'll be okay, because I just realized I don't actually know if this will work on this material very well. Okay. So let's let that set. So here we go. Beacon 3-in-1, not a sponsor. They don't pay me. And let's go ahead and get our rivets ready for our pocket. Yeah, that should work. I'm gonna leave this just 1 extra minute because I've not done Oli Fun before, so I'm not sure how well it's gonna work. So I wanna give it an extra little few seconds to cure. If you're in my Facebook group, I posted a video today, link to somebody who's sewing zipper. It's somebody from the Wizardry group, and she did a good tutorial on zippers. I actually haven't even watched it yet, but everybody said it was really good, so I went ahead and shared it. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and try and turn it now. So I'm gonna reach inside and open up the rest of my zipper pocket. Okay, so now we have, this is our back and this is our little pocket. So when we turn this, we want this to be facing the back. So that it's getting turned with the back. One thing that's really important when you're using Decovil Light is to make sure you let it cure at least a half an hour after you fuse it. It still sometimes will get a little bit wrinkly, but in my experience, if you let it cure that whole, even an hour is better. If you let it cure, it will not wrinkle as bad. Okay, I'm gonna just keep pushing my corners out. And now it's gonna be a little bit thicker because we have so many layers in here. All right, so I'm gonna get, oh, here they are. I like these rounded edge hemostats. And if you go to my Starfish Designs, not the group, but the actual, well, actually it's pinned in the group too, but if you go to the actual business page, I have all my favorite Amazon product links there. They're affiliate links, and all that means is Amazon gives me literally a couple of pennies if you click the link and buy whatever the product is. So, but hey, a few pennies here and there adds up, and I might get $5 or $6 a month. So I'm reaching in there with the rounded hemostats, and it helps me get the corner out. Now, I know with as much layers I have in here, I'm not going to be able to get this really pointy, so I'm just going to have to be satisfied with being a little bit rounded at the bottom. But I want to get it as much as I can. And I usually like to rub it along the edge on the sides, the seam allowance, and on the bottom. If you rub that little hemostat across there, it helps kind of break that seam open a little bit. Okay, I'm putting my finger back in here now because this is still got a little bit I need to work out with my thumb. All right, I'm gonna put my finger in, get the hemostat out, and try and work that corner out. And honestly, sometimes I get tired of doing it on the video and I hang up and let's do it later. But let me see if I can get it out, because it sometimes takes a little bit to get those corners. But take the time to work them out because the bag looks much better when you do. All right, I'm okay with that. So I'm gonna go ahead and rub these seam like this on here. Now on the top, when you want to get the zipper pull area out, what I do is I put the hemostats in there, put my thumb up here, and then just push it up gently. And that zipper, you'll pull it, push it right through that, or not through, but right on top of the vinyl. And this corner is always the worst because it's very bulky. Now, some other people might tell you to cut that out, but I'm not going to because that's where my zipper is. And I don't want to cut that because I might cut my zipper. So I just push down on the bulkiest area and I push it like this, and I gently kind of pull the zipper tape out. And that usually will give me just enough that the zipper will come all the way to the end. Sometimes I still, if it's really thick material, it won't. But if you don't get that pushed down, what happens is your zipper pull will get to about right here and it won't go any farther. So now we have our nice inside. We have all of our credit card pockets. And let's go ahead and zip this closed. You can see I got it all the way down to the end. And now we have our lining. So we have our left side is open now and our right side. So this is what I mean. So if you had an object that would come up to here on the original one, like your phone, it wouldn't fit in the pocket because this is closed off. But with this, you could kind of pull this up and tuck it under and then zip it. All right, look how cute that is. Oh, my Lanta. Oh, it's so cute. Okay, so now we're ready to put our snap on. So there's our little thing, our receiving one. So we want to line this up and get our snap in there just right. So I actually did really good here. I would not have been able to pull it down any farther. So I did 5/8 inch underneath. So I'm going to take this little marker and I'm going to kind of reach in here and mark where the center is. And that's where my center is going to be for that. Now I'm going to put my little hole punch and punch that hole while I can still see the center mark I just made. All right, now this is the part don't mess up on. What did I just do with the cap, the magnet cap? None of it. pad is sitting up here. Y'all, what did I do with it? Okay. I literally just lost it. I must have dropped it on the floor. Okay, it's okay. We'll get another one out. So we're looking for the male end, right? All right. Yes. Yes. Okay, let me get another cap. I must have just pulled it onto the floor. All right, that's the male. Then we need a cap. So when I accidentally put the magnet the wrong direction once, oh my, it was so hard to get it off. So make sure that you put it in the right position, because these are metal. So if you don't have it in the right position, so the cap is going to be on the outside. So you don't want to put this like this. That would be wrong. You need this to be on the inside so that it engages with that like that. So if you have to do that, make sure, so reminder, then do that. Okay, I'm gonna get this little extra fabric out of here, then put the cap on it. So just like a rivet, you should hear that little snap. Okay, now let's get our little die in here. And then I'm gonna go ahead and position this in here and center it. And you kind of have to manipulate it a little bit, but get it centered in there. Especially since I'm using the 18 millimeter, not the 14 millimeter, since I misplaced my other die. All right, and then just press it down. There we go. See, it's nice and neat. Now we have a pocket on our back, we have our pocket on our front, and we have our credit card slots on the inside. Let me put a couple of credit cards in there. I have a whole bunch of these cute little gift cards that a friend sent to me. I haven't even got all the little sticky adhesive off of them yet. So they're sticky. All right, just take a couple. And I'm wondering if this is gonna glow in the dark. I'm kind of excited to try that out. So I'm gonna take it in the bathroom after this and see if it glows in the dark. These are not credit cards, these are just old gift cards. All right, so I'll put this in here. I'm not sure I'm in love with this olif one as the credit card slots, to be honest, but we'll see. Somebody will like it. In this bag, that's a little bit harder because I squeezed in the 8 slots, so it's actually a little bit harder to get into them, into the credit card slots. On the second one, it was a little harder to get into on the inside. Okay. There we go. I just need a strap for it. How cute is that? Oh my Lanta. And now look, there's like no wrinkles in this because I let it cure. And there's a little bit of wrinkles on here just from the woven fuse, but it'll clean out. I love it. I didn't even try to position that like that and it ended up positioning fine. This one I had to take a choice because they were going in every direction. All right, guys, I hope you like it. The alternative version with the open left pocket. If you like my videos, please consider subscribing and clicking the bell to get notifications when I release new patterns or how-tos or any of that kind of stuff. Have a good night.